Something very big is happening in Africa and no one is really talking about it. On the surface, you may only see some ships, roads and infrastructure, but if you look closely, you will realize it's not just about the infrastructure. There is a much bigger plan unfolding. China is quietly laying the foundation of its military power here. From Djibouti on the eastern coast to Equatorial Guinea on the west, from Tanzania's warm waters to Angola's deep sea ports, Chinese bases are emerging everywhere. New partnerships are being signed and Beijing is planting its flags. But the big question is, why is China doing all this? Is it just to protect its trade, or is there a much bigger goal hidden behind it? Over the next few minutes, let me explain step by step how China's moves in Africa will not only impact Africa, but reshape the entire world. China's strategy could completely change global trade routes and military power dynamics. What's happening in Africa today will decide who controls the world's seas and economies tomorrow. This all began with Djibouti, a tiny country near the Horn of Africa that's hard to even spot on the map, but geopolitically very significant. In 2017, China built its first overseas military base there. Right next to it lies the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, one of the world's most important choke points. Every single day, nearly 10% of global trade, including oil, gas, and industrial goods, passes through here. Ships move from the Indian Ocean, cross this strait into the Red Sea, and then through the Suez Canal to Europe. Whoever controls this choke point controls global trade. And China's base in Djibouti is no small setup. Satellite images reveal bunkers, underground facilities, and a deep water port big enough for aircraft carriers. The presence of Chinese troops confirms it's fully operational. But here's the twist. This Chinese base sits just a few kilometers away from American, French, and Japanese bases. Djibouti has become a high-tension zone, like a quiet Cold War, where each side keeps a close watch on the other. But Djibouti was just the beginning. China's focus now extends thousands of kilometers westward to Equatorial Guinea, a small country on the Atlantic coast. Here too, Beijing is pushing its military expansion strategy. Djibouti gave China a grip on the Indian Ocean. Guinea could give it entry into the Atlantic. The port city of Bata looks like an ordinary shipping hub, but according to classified reports, China plans to convert it into a naval base. This matters because until now, China's naval presence has been limited to the Pacific and Indian Oceans near its borders. But a base in Bata would give it direct access to the Atlantic Ocean, long considered America's stronghold. From there, the Chinese Navy could not only monitor West Africa, but also project power towards South America and even the US coast. And this isn't just speculation. Intelligence leaks and US defense assessments confirmed that China could use this base to refuel warships and supply them with weapons. This would be the first time since World War II that another superpower builds a permanent military foothold in a region long dominated solely by the United States. No wonder Washington has declared it a national security threat. But China's ambitions don't stop at Guinea. Just up the coast lies Gabon, rich in natural resources. Officially, Beijing is not building a base there, but under the cover of trade deals and comprehensive strategic partnerships, China is quietly signing secret defense agreements. Many analysts believe these economic ties will soon transform into security arrangements because China's classic strategy is to enter through economics and then gradually expand its military presence. Further south, Angola tells the same story. Since 2007, China has been Angola's biggest trading partner, pouring billions into oil, construction, and ports. The port of Luanda has been modernized with Chinese investment, and crucially, it has a dual-use design, commercial on the surface, but capable of handling military operations in times of conflict. It could support warships and even submarines. And then comes Tanzania. China has been active here since the 1960s, when it funded the famous Tanzania-Zambia Railway. Today, it invests heavily in ports, roads, and energy. The controversial Bagamoyo port project, meant to be Africa's largest, was designed to handle not just cargo, but potentially naval warships. Although Tanzania later suspended it, citing sovereignty concerns, China still maintains strong military ties with the country, funding academies, training centers, and holding joint naval exercises. With its long Indian Ocean coastline, Tanzania offers China the perfect forward presence to monitor East African and even Southeast Asian shipping routes. Moving to Southern Africa, Namibia has also drawn Beijing's eye. Its Walvis Bay port has seen millions of Chinese investments since 2012. While officially commercial, its dual-use design means it could be converted into a naval base if needed. Analysts believe if China activates both Walvis Bay and Luanda, it would effectively control over half of Africa's coastline, stretching from Djibouti in the northeast to the South Atlantic. This would allow China to monitor and even interfere with global sea traffic from Latin America, Southern Europe, and the Gulf of Guinea. So, what is the real purpose behind all this? Why is China building military bases so far from home? There are three main reasons. Protection of investments. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, China has invested billions in African roads, ports, railways, power plants, mining, and telecom. But Africa is politically unstable, with corruption, unrest, and terrorism. China needs nearby bases to secure its assets. Power projection. China doesn't just want to be wealthy, it wants global respect and influence. Just as the US Navy has dominated the seas for decades, Beijing wants its navy patrolling the Indian and Atlantic Oceans. Bases across Africa allow Chinese warships and submarines to operate far beyond Asia, from the Persian Gulf to South America. Competition with the West, the US, France, and Japan already have bases across Africa, officially for counter-terrorism and sea lane monitoring. China sees no reason to be left behind. By building its own bases, Beijing sends a bold message. It will no longer play by rules set in Washington or Brussels. It wants its own table in the global order. This isn't just Africa's story, it's the story of a new world map being drawn. For centuries, Europe and the US dominated Africa. Now China is rewriting the new map quietly. That map, without firing a single bullet. Every new port, every new agreement is laying the foundation for a new world order. One where power no longer rests only in Washington and Brussels, but also in Beijing. Africa is no longer just a land of resources. It is becoming the new battleground of global superpowers.